2 in the morning, and I'm sitting in my kitchen like some pathetic detective, scrolling through my wife's social media while she's supposedly at a girls' retreat in Vermont. Melissa Harper, real estate queen of our little Maine coastal town, posting selfies with captions like, "Living my best life," and "Girls just want to have fun." Problem is, I know she's lying. My name's Evan Harper, and I fix cars for a living. Been doing it for 20 years, ever since I hung up my boxing gloves and decided I preferred engines that didn't hit back. Melissa loves reminding me about my career choice, especially when she's had a few glasses of wine. "You work a 9 to 5, Evan. You can't afford my lifestyle." "Well, honey, turns out you can't afford my patience either. See, when you spend your days fixing things that are broken, you develop a certain eye for details. Like how Melissa's girls' retreat posts are all time-stamped from different locations. Like how her best friend Tina isn't in any of the photos, even though she was supposed to be on this trip too. Like how my wife's credit card statements show charges at fancy restaurants here in town while she's supposedly hiking mountain trails 3 states away. The front door creaks open, and speak of the devil. Melissa stumbles in, looking flustered, her blonde hair messed up in a way that has nothing to do with outdoor activities. She's wearing that little black dress she claims makes her look professional, but really just makes her look available. "Hey, babe," she says, trying to sound casual. "Trip ended early. Weather was terrible." I don't look up from my phone. Funny thing about weather, Mel. It's usually the same for everyone in the same place. She freezes halfway to the stairs. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Means I've been tracking the weather in Vermont all weekend. Sunny and 75 degrees. Perfect hiking weather, actually." Now she's nervous. I can tell because she starts playing with her wedding ring, twisting it around her finger like she always does when she's about to lie to me. Well, maybe the weather app was wrong. You know how technology is. I finally look up and smile. It's not a nice smile. "Speaking of technology, you forgot your phone in the car again." Her face goes white. "My phone?" "Yeah, the one you left on the passenger seat with 17 missed calls from Chad Pennington. You know, that luxury car dealer with the spray tan and the gym membership he never stops talking about. Ring any bells?" Melissa's mouth opens and closes like a fish out of water. Chaz. Pennington is everything I'm not. Young, flashy, drives a different sports car every month, and has never had grease under his fingernails in his life. He's also been texting my wife for 3 months, and thanks to some creative phone cloning software my buddy Joe taught me, I've been reading every single message. "Evan, I can explain." "Can you?" "Because I've got some pretty interesting reading material here." I hold up her phone, scrolling through the messages. "Let's see. Can't wait to get my hands on you again. That's from Chaz. The mechanic will never figure it out. He's too stupid. That one's from you. Oh, and here's my personal favorite. Tina's bringing the camera tonight. Now what do you suppose that means?" She lunges for the phone, but I'm faster. 20 years of boxing reflexes don't just disappear because you change careers. I stand up, holding the device out of her reach. "Sit down, Melissa. We need to talk." "You had no right to go through my phone." "Actually, I had every right." See, when you're married to someone, and they start acting suspicious, and they start lying about where they are, and they start spending money on hotel rooms and fancy dinners with other men, well, that gives the betrayed spouse certain legal protections when it comes to gathering evidence. I've been doing my homework. Turns out, being married to a real estate agent teaches you a few things about research and documentation. Melissa finally sits down, but she's not giving up yet. "It's not what you think." "Really?" "Because what I think is that you've been sleeping with Chaz for 3 months. I think Tina's been helping you cover it up, probably joining in sometimes based on these photos I found in your cloud storage. I think you've been using our joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms and dinners and lingerie that I've never seen you wear at home. And I think you've been laughing at me behind my back, calling me stupid and boring and telling your friends that I'm just a dumb mechanic who doesn't deserve you." Each word hits her like a physical blow. Her perfectly made-up face crumbles, mascara starting to run down her cheeks. "Evan, please!" "I'm not done. I sit back down, but I keep her phone. See, the thing about being underestimated is that people don't see you coming. They think because you work with your hands instead of pushing papers around an office, you must be stupid. They think because you're quiet and don't make a big show of everything, you must be weak. But you know what I learned in the boxing ring, Mel? The quiet ones are the ones you need to worry about. My phone rings. I glance at the caller ID and smile. Oh, look. It's your mother. Melissa's eyes go wide. Don't you dare! I answer the call. Hi, Mrs. Patterson. Yes, this is Evan. No, Melissa's not at a girls' retreat. She's right here, actually. She's been spending the weekend with her boyfriend. What's that? No, not me. The other one. Evan, stop! Melissa is crying now, reaching for the phone. What's that, Mrs. Patterson? You want to talk to your daughter? Of course. I hold the phone out to Melissa. Your mom wants a word. Melissa takes the phone with shaking hands. I can hear her mother's voice through the speaker, loud and angry, but I'm not listening to the words. I'm watching my wife's face as her world starts to fall apart. When she finally hangs up, she looks at me with something between hatred and desperation. What do you want, Evan? Money? I'll stop seeing him. We can work this out. I shake my head. Too late for that, sweetheart. See, I've already been working things out, starting with this. I pull a letter from my pocket and slide it across the table. She opens it and reads, her face getting paler with each line. You're not renewing the lease on the apartment? Nope. Lease expires at the end of the month. That's next week in case you've lost track of time between all your extracurricular activities. But where am I supposed to live? I shrug. Not my problem anymore. Maybe Chaz has room on his couch. Or maybe your mom does, since she's about to find out exactly what kind of daughter she raised. Melissa stares at the letter like it might change if she reads it enough times. You can't do this. We're married. You can't just kick me out. Actually, I can. See, this apartment is in my name only. Always has been. You never wanted your name on anything official, remember? Said it was better for your credit rating. Turns out it was better for my divorce planning, too. The word divorce hits her like a slap. Divorce? Oh, did I not mention that? Yeah, I've already filed the papers. Irreconcilable differences with a side of adultery and fraud. Turns out those hotel charges on our joint credit card constitute theft, since you were using marital assets to fund your affair. My lawyer thinks we've got a pretty solid case. Now she's really panicking. Evan, please. We can work this out. I made a mistake. I'll end it with Chaz. I'll do whatever you want. I stand up and walk to the kitchen counter, pouring myself a cup of coffee like we're having a normal conversation. You know what the funny thing is, Mel? If you'd just been honest with me, if you'd just said you weren't happy and wanted out, I probably would have let you go with half of everything. But you had to be sneaky about it. You had to lie and cheat and steal and make me look like a fool in front of the whole town. I never meant for it to go this far. Sure you did. You meant every bit of it. The only thing you didn't mean was getting caught. My phone buzzes. Text message from Joe, my buddy who works security at the mill. Package delivered, it says. I smile. Oh, and one more thing. Your car's been towed. What? Yeah. Turns out when you miss 3 payments, the bank gets antsy. I called them this morning. Let them know where they could find it. Should be in the impound lot by now. She runs to the window, looking out at the empty driveway. You bastard! How am I supposed to get to work? Same way you've been getting around all weekend, I guess. Call Chaz. I'm sure he'll be happy to give you a ride, assuming his credit cards aren't maxed out. Oh wait, according to these bank statements I found, they are... Melissa turns around, and for a moment I think she might actually try to hit me. But then she seems to deflate, sinking into the chair like all the fight has gone out of her. What happens now? She asks quietly. Now? Now you pack whatever fits in a suitcase and figure out where you're going to spend the night, because this is my house, and you're not welcome here anymore. And then, I take a sip of my coffee and look at her over the rim of the mug. Then you get to find out what happens when you mess with someone who knows how to fix things, including his own life. The phone rings again. This time it's Tina. I answer before Melissa can stop me. Tina! Perfect timing. Your partner in crime just got home. Yeah, she told me all about your little photography hobby. What's that? No, I don't think Melissa's going to be able to make it to your place tonight. She's got some packing to do. I hang up and toss the phone to Melissa. Better call your mom back. Something tells me you're going to need that couch after all. As I watch my wife of 15 years sitting in our kitchen, crying over the wreckage of her lies, I feel something I haven't felt in months. Peace. The trip is canceled, Mel, and so is your free ride. Monday morning, 6 a.m. sharp. I'm at the garage doing what I do best, fixing things that are broken. The difference is, today I'm not just fixing cars. I'm fixing my life. Lonnie, my apprentice, shows up with coffee and donuts, same as every morning for the past 5 years. Kid's 23, built like a scarecrow, and has the loyalty of a golden retriever. He takes one look at me and grins. Boss, you look different today, like good different. Feel different too, Lonnie. Feel like a man who just took out the trash. I tell him about the weekend while we work on Mrs. Henderson's Buick. Lonnie listens with the kind of fascination usually reserved for action movies. So she's really gone? Just like that? Just like that. Took her suitcase, called her mom, and drove off in Tina's car around midnight. Haven't heard from her since. What about all her stuff? I gesture toward the corner of the garage where 3 cardboard boxes sit stacked neatly. Right there. Clothes, makeup, jewelry, whatever else she thought was important. If she wants it, she can come get it. During business hours. Lonnie picks up a wrench, then puts it down again. Boss, can I ask you something? Shoot. Aren't you sad? I mean, you were married for 15 years. I stop working and look at him. It's a fair question, and he deserves an honest answer. You know what, Lonnie? I thought I would be. I thought I'd be devastated. But mostly what I feel is relieved. Like I've been holding my breath for months and can finally exhale. Because she was cheating? Because she was lying. The cheating was just part of it. She lied about where she was, what she was doing, how she felt about me. She lied about money, about her friends, about her plans. Living with someone who lies to you every day, it's like being slowly poisoned. You don't realize how sick you are until the poison stops. My phone buzzes. Text from Melissa. We need to talk. I show it to Lonnie. Speak of the devil. I text back. Nothing to talk about. Lawyer has my number if you need something. She responds immediately. Don't be like this. I'm sorry. Sorry you got caught or sorry you did it? Both. Please, Evan, can we meet somewhere? I think about it for a moment, then type, Rusty Anchor. 7 tonight. One conversation, then we're done. The Rusty Anchor is the kind of bar where everybody knows everybody, and everybody's business gets discussed whether you want it to or not. If Melissa wants to talk, she can do it in front of witnesses. At lunch, I drive over to the bank and handle some business I've been putting off. Turns out, when you're the only one with a steady job and good credit, you get to make all the financial decisions in a divorce. I close our joint accounts, transfer everything to my personal account, and update all the automatic payments. The house, the utilities, the insurance, it's all in my name now. The bank manager, a guy named Tom I've known since high school, looks over the paperwork and whistles. Divorce? Yep. Sorry to hear that, Evan. Melissa seemed like a nice girl. Seemed like a lot of things she wasn't. He nods knowingly. Well, for what it's worth, you're handling it smart. Getting your finances separated first thing, that's the right move. Too many guys let their emotions make decisions for them. I'm done letting emotions make decisions for me, Tom. From now on, it's all logic and planning. That afternoon, I get a visit from Chaz himself. He rolls up to the garage in his latest toy, a bright red Corvette that probably costs more than I make in 2 years. He gets out wearing a suit that's too tight and sunglasses that are too expensive, looking like every cliché of a midlife crisis you've ever seen. We need to talk, he says, trying to sound tough. Lonnie looks up from the engine he's working on, wrench in hand. Want me to handle this, boss? Nah, I got it. I wipe my hands on a rag and walk over to where Chaz is standing. Up close, he's smaller than I expected. Maybe 5'8" in expensive shoes, with the kind of gym muscles that look impressive in a tank top, but don't mean much in a real fight. What can I do for you, Chaz? You can stop harassing Melissa. I laugh. Harassing her? By divorcing her? By moving her stuff out of my house? Which part of that is harassment, exactly? You're trying to destroy her life. No, I'm trying to fix mine. Big difference. He steps closer, trying to intimidate me. Look, Harper, I don't know what your game is, but it ends now. Melissa made a mistake, but that doesn't give you the right to ruin her. Actually, it gives me every right. See, when you marry someone, you make promises. You promise to be faithful, honest, loyal. When you break those promises, there are consequences. I'm just making sure the consequences fit the crime. She doesn't deserve this. You're right. She deserves worse. But I'm not interested in worse. I'm interested in justice. Chaz looks around the garage, taking in the tools, the equipment, the cars in various stages of repair. Nice little setup you got here. Be a shame if something happened to it. Now I'm not laughing anymore. Did you just threaten me? I'm just saying accidents happen, equipment breaks down, buildings catch fire. I take a step forward and suddenly the height and weight difference between us becomes very obvious. Let me tell you something, Chaz. I spent 10 years in the ring getting hit by guys twice your size. I've had my nose broken 4 times, my ribs cracked more times than I can count, and I've been knocked unconscious by men who could bench press your car. You think you scare me? He backs up a step. I'm not trying to scare you. Good. Because if you were, you'd be doing a terrible job. But let me give you some free advice since you're here. Stay away from my business, stay away from my friends, and if you're smart, you'll stay away from my ex-wife too. Why would I stay away from Melissa? I smile, and it's not a nice smile. Because she's about to become very expensive. And according to your credit report, you can't afford expensive right now. His face goes red. You looked at my credit report? Didn't have to. Melissa showed it to me herself, back when she was trying to figure out if you were worth leaving me for. Spoiler alert, you're not. I pull out my phone and scroll to a screenshot I took from Melissa's messages. Let's see here. Chaz is broke, but he's fun. That's what she told Tina last month. His credit cards are maxed out and he's behind on his car payments, but at least he's good in bed. Want me to keep reading? Chaz grabs for the phone, but I pull it back. No touching. But here's the really good part. I'm only with him until I can take Evan for half of everything in the divorce. Then I'll dump them both and find someone with real money. The color drains from his face. She didn't say that. She did. Want to see the timestamp? It's from 3 days ago, right around the time you were buying her dinner at that fancy place downtown. The dinner she was planning to make me pay for through the joint credit card. I put the phone back in my pocket. So here's what's going to happen, Chaz. You're going to get in your overpriced midlife crisis mobile, and you're going to drive away. You're not going to threaten me again, because now you know I've got enough dirt on both of you to bury your reputations in this town, and you're going to think real hard about whether Melissa is worth the trouble she's about to bring into your life. He stands there for a moment, trying to think of something tough to say. Finally, he settles on, "This isn't over." Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. After he leaves, Lonnie comes over, shaking his head. "Boss, that guy's bad news." "Yeah, but he's not smart news. There's a difference." That evening, I show up at the Rusty Anchor right at 7. The place is busy, which is exactly what I wanted. Maggie, the owner, is a woman in her 60s who's seen everything twice and isn't impressed by any of it. She's also the unofficial information hub of our little town. "Heard you had some excitement this weekend," she says, sliding a beer across the bar. "Word travels fast. Faster when it's interesting. Melissa's been calling around, trying to find somewhere to stay. Nobody's returning her calls. Can't imagine why." Maggie leans across the bar. "Can I give you some advice, Evan?" "Shoot. Don't let her talk you into taking her back. I've seen this movie before. She'll cry, she'll promise to change, she'll blame it all on temporary insanity or whatever, but a cheater's a cheater. Leopards don't change their spots." "Don't worry, Maggie. I'm not taking her back." "Good. You deserve better." Melissa shows up 20 minutes late, looking like she hasn't slept. She's wearing jeans and a t-shirt instead of her usual designer outfits, and her hair is pulled back in a ponytail. For the first time in years, she looks like the girl I married instead of the woman she became. "Thanks for meeting me," she says, sliding into the booth across from me. "You've got 10 minutes. She takes a deep breath. "I know you're angry." "I'm not angry, Melissa. Angry would be an improvement. I'm disappointed. I'm disgusted. But I'm not angry. I made a mistake." "You made a choice. Multiple choices, over several months. That's not a mistake, that's a pattern." She reaches across the table like she's going to take my hand, but I pull back. "Evan, please. I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work it out." "No, we can't." "Why not?" I lean back in the booth and study her face. "Because you don't love me, Melissa. You probably never did. You love what I represent. Stability, security, someone to pay the bills while you play house. But you don't love me." "That's not true." "Really? When's the last time you asked me about my day? When's the last time you showed any interest in my work, my friends, my thoughts about anything? When's the last time you touched me without wanting something in return?" She opens her mouth to answer, then closes it again. "That's what I thought. You don't know me, Melissa. After 15 years of marriage, you don't know what I like, what I want, what I dream about. All you know is that I'm reliable and I don't complain much. I can change. Maybe you can. But I can't. I can't unknow what I know now. I can't unfeel what I felt when I read those messages. I can't pretend that you didn't spend 3 months lying to my face while you were sleeping with another man." Tears start running down her cheeks. "So that's it? 15 years and you're just throwing it all away?" "I'm not throwing anything away. You already did that." I stand up to leave, but she grabs my arm. "Wait. What about the house? What about my stuff? What about my job?" "The house is mine. Your stuff is in boxes at the garage. You can pick it up any time. As for your job, that's between you and your boss." "Evan, please. I don't have anywhere to go." "Should have thought about that before you decided to go everywhere with Chaz." I walk away, leaving her sitting in the booth. Maggie catches my eye and nods approvingly. A few other people in the bar are watching, and I can already imagine how this story is going to spread through town by morning. Outside, I sit in my truck for a moment, letting the reality of it all sink in. 15 years of marriage, over in a weekend. But as I drive home to my empty house, I realize something. For the first time in months, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. The next morning brings a phone call that makes my coffee taste even better. It's Tom from the bank. "Evan, thought you'd want to know. Your ex-wife tried to access the joint account this morning. When she found out it was closed, she made quite a scene. Security had to escort her out." "Sorry about that, Tom." "Don't be. It was the most entertainment we've had all month. She kept screaming about how she had rights and how you couldn't just steal her money. Had to explain to her about 6 times that it was never her money to begin with." After I hang up, I can't help but smile. Melissa always did have a flair for the dramatic, but usually she saved it for private moments. Making a scene at the bank means she's getting desperate, and desperate people make mistakes. My phone rings again. This time it's Joe, my buddy from the mill. "Heard you might need some security advice," he says. "What kind of security advice?" "The kind that involves making sure certain people stay away from your property. Word is, your ex-wife's boyfriend made some threats yesterday. Joe's been working security for 15 years, ever since he retired from the police force. If anyone knows how to handle troublemakers, it's him. Nothing I can't handle, Joe, but thanks for the offer. Offer stands if you change your mind. Also, you might want to know that Chaz Pennington's got some financial troubles. Repo company's been looking for that Corvette of his." "Is that so?" "Yep. Seems he's 3 payments behind. They've got a warrant to seize it whenever they find it." I file that information away for later use. In my experience, a man's car is often his most vulnerable spot, especially when that man is Chaz Pennington. Around noon, I get an unexpected visitor. Tina shows up at the garage looking like she hasn't slept in days. Her usually perfect hair is a mess, and she's wearing yesterday's clothes. "We need to talk," she says. Lonnie looks up from the transmission he's rebuilding. "Want me to call the cops, boss?" "No need. What can I do for you, Tina?" She glances around the garage nervously. "Can we talk somewhere private?" "This is as private as it gets. Lonnie here is practically family. Whatever you've got to say, you can say it in front of him." She takes a deep breath. "I want to make a deal." "What kind of deal?" "I've got information you might want, about Melissa and Chaz, about their plans." I set down the wrench I'm holding and give her my full attention. "I'm listening." "They're planning to fight the divorce. They think if they can prove you're mentally unstable, they can get you declared unfit and take everything." "And how exactly do they plan to prove I'm mentally unstable?" Tina shifts uncomfortably. "They're going to say you threatened them. That you've been stalking Melissa, harassing her, making her fear for her safety." I laugh. "That's ridiculous. I've barely spoken to her since she moved out. They don't care if it's true. They just need it to sound believable in court." "And what's your role in this brilliant plan?" "I'm supposed to be a witness. Say I saw you following her, heard you making threats, that kind of thing. But you're here instead talking to me. Why?" She looks down at her hands. "Because Melissa threw me under the bus. When her mom found out about the affair, Melissa told her it was all my idea. Said I corrupted her, led her astray, forced her into it. Now her whole family thinks I'm some kind of evil influence." "Aren't you?" "Maybe. But I didn't force her to do anything. Every choice she made on her own." I lean against the workbench, studying Tina's face. She's scared, desperate, and probably telling the truth. "What kind of deal are you looking for?" "I want out. Out of their plan. Out of their mess. Out of this whole situation. In exchange, I'll tell you everything I know about what they're planning." "And why should I trust you? You've been lying for Melissa for months." "Because I've got proof." She pulls out her phone and scrolls to a voice recording. "I recorded our conversation last night, when Melissa was explaining how we were going to frame you." She plays the recording, and I listen to my ex-wife's voice laying out a plan to destroy my reputation and steal my business. It's detailed, vindictive, and completely illegal. "She really said all that?" "Every word, and there's more where that came from." I look at Lonnie, who's been listening with his mouth hanging open. "What do you think, kid?" "I think we just found our smoking gun, boss." I turn back to Tina. "Okay, here's my deal. You give me everything you've got on their plan, every recording, every text message, every detail. In exchange, I'll make sure your name stays out of the divorce proceedings." "That's it?" "That's it. I'm not interested in destroying you, Tina. I'm interested in protecting myself." She nods quickly. "Deal." For the next hour, Tina tells me everything. How Melissa and Chaz have been planning this for weeks. How they were going to claim I was abusive, unstable, dangerous. How they were going to use fake witnesses and manufactured evidence to paint me as the villain. The more I hear, the angrier I get. Not the hot, explosive kind of anger, but the cold, calculating kind that makes you very, very dangerous. "There's one more thing," Tina says as she's getting ready to leave. "Chaz isn't just broke. He's in debt to some very bad people. He owes money to a loan shark in Portland, and they're starting to pressure him for payment." "How much money?" $50,000. He was planning to use Melissa's divorce settlement to pay them off. After Tina leaves, I sit in my office going through all the evidence she gave me. Recordings, text messages, emails, photos. It's enough to not only defend myself in court, but to go on the offensive. My phone rings. It's my lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia who specializes in divorce cases. "Evan, I've got some interesting news. Melissa's lawyer contacted me today. They want to negotiate a settlement." "What kind of settlement?" "They're asking for half of everything. The house, the business, your retirement accounts. In exchange, they'll agree to a no-fault divorce." I laugh. "Tell them no." "Are you sure? Fighting this in court could get expensive." "I'm sure. In fact, I've got some new evidence that's going to change the whole game." I spend the next hour on the phone with Patricia, going over everything Tina gave me. By the end of the call, my lawyer sounds positively gleeful. "Evan, this is better than Christmas. With this evidence, we can not only defend against their claims, we can file countercharges for fraud, conspiracy, and perjury." What does that mean in practical terms? It means instead of them taking half of everything, they might end up owing you money. A lot of money. That evening, I drive over to the Rusty Anchor for a beer and some of Maggie's famous fish and chips. The place is crowded, and I can feel people watching me as I walk in. Word has gotten around about the divorce, and everyone wants to know the details. Maggie slides a beer across the bar without being asked. "Heard you had another visitor today." News travels fast in this town. Faster when it involves Tina Morrison looking like she hadn't slept in a week. What did she want? To make amends. Smart girl. Melissa's been burning bridges all over town. Pretty soon, she won't have any friends left. Speaking of Melissa, heard anything interesting lately? Maggie leans across the bar and lowers her voice. Word is, she's been staying at that cheap motel out on Route 1. The one that rents rooms by the week. Apparently her mother kicked her out after their big fight. What about Chaz? Oh, that's the best part. His car got repossessed yesterday, right out of the parking lot at his dealership in front of all his customers. He had to call an Uber to get home. I can't help but smile at that mental image. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. There's more. Turns out the dealership's been having financial problems for months. Rumor is they might be closing down by the end of the year. The pieces are all falling into place. Chaz is broke, desperate, and in debt to dangerous people. Melissa is homeless, friendless, and facing a divorce that's about to get very expensive for her. And I'm sitting here with enough evidence to destroy both of them in court. But as I finish my beer and head home, I realize that court might not be enough. They tried to destroy me, to take everything I've worked for my entire life. They deserve more than just legal consequences. They deserve a taste of their own medicine. And I'm just the man to give it to them. The next morning, I put phase 2 of my plan into action. It starts with a phone call to the repo company that took Chaz's Corvette. "I've got information about another vehicle you might be interested in," I tell them. "A BMW sedan, license plate number." I give them all the details about Chaz's backup car, the one he thinks nobody knows about. Then I call the IRS tip line and report Chaz's dealership for tax evasion. I don't have proof, but I've got suspicions, and sometimes suspicions are enough to trigger an audit. Finally, I call the loan shark in Portland. It takes some doing to track down the right number, but Joe's police contacts come in handy. "I've got information about Chad Pennington," I tell the voice on the other end of the line. "Thought you might want to know he's been telling people he doesn't owe you any money." I hang up before they can ask questions. By noon, Chaz's second car has been repossessed. The IRS has scheduled an audit of his dealership, and according to Joe's sources, some very unfriendly people from Portland have been asking around town about where to find him. It's amazing how quickly a man's life can fall apart when you know which dominoes to push. But I'm not done yet, not even close. Friday afternoon, I get a call that makes my whole week. It's Patricia, my lawyer, and she sounds like she just won the lottery. "Evan, you're not going to believe this. Melissa's lawyer just called. They want to drop all their demands and settle for a simple no-fault divorce. No money, no property claims, nothing." "What changed their minds?" "I sent them copies of all that evidence Tina gave you. The recordings, the text messages, the whole conspiracy to frame you. They realized they don't have a leg to stand on. So it's over? Almost. We still need to finalize the paperwork, but yes, it's essentially over. You keep everything, she gets nothing, and if she tries to cause any more trouble, we can file criminal charges for conspiracy and fraud." After I hang up, I sit in my office for a moment, letting it all sink in. 6 months ago, I was a married man with a cheating wife and no idea what was going on behind my back. Today, I'm a free man with a successful business and enough evidence to send my ex-wife to jail if she steps out of line. But something doesn't feel right. It's too easy, too clean. Melissa's not the type to give up without a fight, especially when she's desperate. And desperate people do desperate things. I'm proven right that evening when Joe calls with some disturbing news. Evan, you need to be careful. Word is Melissa and Chaz are planning something big. They've been asking around about your schedule, when you're at the garage, when you go home. What kind of something big? The kind that might involve making you disappear permanently. I can't prove it, but my sources say they've been talking to some very bad people about solving their problem once and for all. A chill runs down my spine. You think they're planning to have me killed? I think they're desperate enough to consider it. Chaz owes 50 grand to people who break legs for a living, and Melissa's facing a divorce that leaves her with nothing. Dead men can't testify in court. I thank Joe and hang up, my mind racing. If they're really planning to have me killed, I need to act fast. But I also need to be smart about it. Going to the police with suspicions isn't enough. I need proof. That night, I don't go home. Instead, I park my truck behind the garage and wait. If they're planning to make a move, they'll probably start by checking my usual haunts. Sure enough, around midnight, I see a car drive slowly past the garage. It's a beat-up sedan with tinted windows, and it circles the block 3 times before parking across the street. 2 men get out, and even in the darkness, I can see they're not locals. I call Joe. That backup you offered? I think I'm going to need it. On my way. 20 minutes later, Joe arrives with 2 of his buddies from the mill. All 3 are ex-military, and they know how to handle themselves in a fight. What's the plan? Joe asks. We wait and see what they do. If they try to break in, we call the cops. If they try something else, we improvise. We don't have to wait long. The 2 men cross the street and start examining the garage, looking for ways in. One of them produces a crowbar and starts working on the back door. That's our cue, Joe says. We move in fast and quiet. The first guy doesn't even see us coming. Joe takes him down with a sleeper hold that would make a professional wrestler proud. The second guy tries to run, but he doesn't get far before Joe's buddies tackle him. Well, I say, looking down at our prisoners. What do we have here? The guy with the crowbar is about 40, with prison tattoos and the kind of face that's seen too many fights. His partner is younger, but just as rough-looking. We weren't doing nothing, Crowbar says. Really? Because it looked like you were trying to break into my business. That's called burglary, in case you weren't aware. We were just looking around. Joe pulls out his phone and starts taking pictures. These boys look familiar. I think they're part of that loan shark operation out of Portland. Is that so? I crouch down next to Crowbar. Someone hire you to pay me a visit? He doesn't answer, but his partner is more talkative. Look, man, we were just supposed to scare you. Maybe rough you up a little. Nobody said nothing about killing nobody. Who hired you? Some guy named Chaz. Said you were causing problems for his girlfriend. I look at Joe. Think that's enough for the police? More than enough. Conspiracy, attempted burglary, criminal threatening. These boys are looking at serious time. But as we're waiting for the cops to arrive, I get an idea. A better idea than just having them arrested. Here's what's going to happen, I tell the 2 thugs. You're going to go back to Portland and tell your boss that Chaz Pennington hired you to commit crimes in his name. You're going to tell him that Chaz is planning to skip town without paying his debts. And you're going to suggest that maybe your boss should have a conversation with Chaz about his business practices. Crowbar looks confused. Why would we do that? Because if you do, I'll tell the police that you were just lost and asking for directions. But if you don't, I'll make sure they know you were here to commit felonies on behalf of a man who owes your boss $50,000. The 2 men exchange glances. What's in it for us? You get to walk away from this without going to jail. Your boss gets information he needs about a deadbeat client, and I get the satisfaction of knowing that Chaz is about to have a very bad day. They agree, of course. When the police arrive, I tell them it was all a misunderstanding. The 2 men were lost and trying to find a gas station. The cops aren't entirely convinced, but without evidence of a crime, they have to let it go. After everyone leaves, Joe and his buddies help me secure the garage. You sure about letting those guys go? Joe asks. Trust me. Sometimes the best revenge is letting your enemies destroy each other. Saturday morning, I get confirmation that my plan is working. Maggie calls with the latest gossip. You're not going to believe what happened to Chaz last night. He got beaten up in the parking lot of his apartment complex, broke his nose, cracked a couple ribs, and lost 3 teeth. That's terrible, I say, trying to sound concerned. Any idea who did it? Word is it was some guys from Portland, something about money he owes. They left him with a message, pay up or next time will be worse. What about Melissa? Oh, that's the best part. She was with him when it happened, saw the whole thing. Now she's scared out of her mind, talking about leaving town. Can't say I blame her. Gets better. Turns out the cheap motel where she's been staying, they kicked her out for not paying her bill. She's been sleeping in her car for the past 2 nights. I hang up feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. Chaz got exactly what he deserved, and Melissa is finally experiencing the consequences of her choices. But I'm still not done. Sunday evening, I drive out to the industrial park where Melissa's been parking her car to sleep. I find her in the back corner of an empty lot, huddled in the back seat of Tina's old Honda with a blanket pulled over her head. I tap on the window. She looks up, and I barely recognize her. The perfectly made-up real estate queen is gone, replaced by a haggard woman with stringy hair and dark circles under her eyes. She rolls down the window. What do you want, Evan? To talk. There's nothing to talk about. I think there is. Get out of the car, Melissa. She hesitates, then opens the door and steps out. She's wearing the same clothes she had on 3 days ago, and she smells like she hasn't showered in just as long. You look terrible, I say. Thanks. That's exactly what I needed to hear right now. How's Chaz doing? Heard he had some trouble the other night. Her face crumples. They broke his nose. And his ribs. There was so much blood, Evan. I thought they were going to kill him. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to get involved with a man who owes money to loan sharks. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. She wraps her arms around herself, shivering in the evening air. What do you want from me, Evan? You've already taken everything. The house, the money, my friends, my job. What more is there? I want you to understand something, Melissa. I want you to understand that actions have consequences. You spent months lying to me, cheating on me, stealing from me, and planning to destroy me. Did you really think I was just going to roll over and take it? I never meant for it to go this far. Yes, you did. You meant every bit of it. The only thing you didn't plan on was me fighting back. She starts crying, the kind of desperate sobbing that comes from someone who's lost everything and doesn't know how to get it back. I'm sorry, she whispers. I'm so sorry, Evan. I know I hurt you. I know I was wrong. But please, can't you forgive me? Can't we try to work this out? I look at her standing there in the parking lot, broken and defeated, and for a moment, I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. You know what the funny thing is, Mel? If you'd come to me 6 months ago and told me you were unhappy, if you'd been honest about wanting out of our marriage, I probably would have given you half of everything and wished you well. But you couldn't do that, could you? You had to be sneaky about it. You had to lie and cheat and try to make me look like a fool. I was scared. Scared of what? Scared of being honest? Scared of treating me with basic human decency? She doesn't have an answer for that. Here's what's going to happen, I continue. You're going to sign the divorce papers without any more drama. You're going to stay away from me, my business, and my friends. And you're going to leave town. Tonight. I don't have anywhere to go. That's not my problem anymore. I reach into my pocket and pull out an envelope. There's $500 in there. It's more than you deserve, but I'm not completely heartless. Use it to get out of town and start over somewhere else. She takes the envelope with shaking hands. Why are you doing this? Because despite everything you've done to me, I'm still a better person than you are. I turn to walk away, but she calls after me. Evan, wait. What if I told you I still love you? What if I told you I made a mistake and I want to come home? I stop and look back at her. Then I'd say you're about 6 months too late, and I'd remind you that home isn't a place you can come back to after you've burned it down. As I drive away, I see her in my rearview mirror, standing alone in the empty parking lot with everything she owns in the back seat of a borrowed car. For the first time since this whole mess started, I feel something that might be peace. The trip is canceled, Mel, and so is your free ride. But I'm not quite finished yet. There's still one more chapter to write in this story. Monday morning brings news that makes my coffee taste like victory. Lonnie bursts into the garage with a newspaper and a grin that could light up the whole building. "Boss, you gotta see this." The headline reads, "Local car dealer arrested for fraud." Below it is a picture of Chaz being led away in handcuffs, his face a mess of bruises and bandages from his encounter with the Portland loan sharks. "Turns out the IRS audit found some interesting discrepancies in his books," Lonnie says, reading over my shoulder. "Tax evasion, money laundering, falsifying documents. They're saying he could get 10 to 15 years. I take the paper and read the full article. According to the reporter, Chaz had been running a sophisticated fraud operation for years, selling cars that didn't exist, taking loans against vehicles he'd already sold, and skimming money from customer payments. The IRS audit I triggered had uncovered the whole scheme. "There's more," Lonnie says, pulling out his phone. "Tina posted this on social media an hour ago." He shows me a long Facebook post from Tina, detailing everything she knows about Melissa and Chaz's plan to frame me. She's naming names, posting screenshots of text messages, and basically burning every bridge she has left in town. At the bottom, she's added, "I'm sorry for my part in this. Evan Harper is a good man who didn't deserve what we tried to do to him." "Why would she post all that?" Lonnie asks. "Because she's scared. With Chaz in jail and Melissa on the run, she's worried someone's going to try to pin the whole thing on her. She's trying to get ahead of the story." My phone rings. It's Joe. "Evan, you need to get down to the police station. They want to talk to you about Chaz Pennington." "What about him?" "He's trying to make a deal. Claiming you were involved in his business somehow, that you knew about the fraud and helped cover it up." I laugh. "That's ridiculous." "I know it is and they know it is, but they have to check it out. Bring your lawyer." 2 hours later, I'm sitting in an interview room at the police station with Patricia beside me. Detective Morrison, no relation to Tina, thankfully, is a veteran cop who looks like he's seen every kind of lie there is. "Mr. Harper, Chad Pennington claims you were blackmailing him. Says you had evidence of his illegal activities and were using it to extort money from him." Patricia leans forward. "That's absurd. My client had no business relationship with Mr. Pennington whatsoever. Actually," I say, "I think I know what this is about." I tell them about the phone cloning, the text messages I intercepted, and the evidence I gathered about Melissa's affair. I explain how I used that information to defend myself against their plan to frame me, but I'm careful to point out that I never asked for money or tried to extort anyone. "You have proof of this conspiracy?" Detective Morrison asks. Patricia slides a folder across the table. Audio recordings, text messages, emails, and a signed statement from Tina Morrison detailing the entire plan. The detective spends 20 minutes reviewing the evidence. When he's finished, he looks up at me with something that might be respect. "Mr. Harper, I've been doing this job for 25 years, and I've never seen someone document their own defense this thoroughly. You've got enough evidence here to file criminal charges against both of them." "I'm not interested in pressing charges," I say. "I just want to be left alone." "That's very generous of you. But I have to ask, did you have anything to do with Mr. Pennington's financial troubles? The repo men, the IRS audit, the loan sharks?" I choose my words carefully. "Detective, I'm a mechanic. I fix cars. I don't have the connections or the expertise to orchestrate the kind of financial investigation that brought down Chaz's operation. If the IRS found evidence of fraud, it's because the fraud was there to be found." He nods slowly. "Fair enough. You're free to go, Mr. Harper. And for what it's worth, I think you handled a bad situation about as well as anyone could." Outside the police station, Patricia shakes my hand. "Congratulations, Evan. It's officially over. The divorce is finalized, all charges against you have been dropped, and you're a free man." "What happens to Melissa and Chaz now?" "Chaz is looking at serious prison time. As for Melissa, she's facing potential charges for conspiracy and fraud, but if she stays out of trouble and out of town, The prosecutor probably won't pursue it. That evening, I'm at the Rusty Anchor celebrating with Joe, Lonnie, and Maggie when the door opens and a familiar figure walks in. It's Melissa, but she looks different. Clean, for one thing. She's showered and changed clothes. But there's something else, something in her eyes that wasn't there before. The whole bar goes quiet as she walks over to where I'm sitting. "Can I talk to you?" she asks. "Just for a minute?" Joe starts to stand up, but I wave him off. "It's okay." She sits down across from me, and I notice her hands are shaking. "I wanted to say goodbye before I leave town." "Where are you going?" "My sister in Arizona said I could stay with her for a while. Help me get back on my feet." "That's good. Fresh start." She nods, then looks down at her hands. "Evan, I know this doesn't mean anything now, but I want you to know that I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. Not just for getting caught, but for all of it. For lying to you, for cheating on you, for trying to destroy you when you found out. Okay, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know that I understand now what I threw away. You were a good husband, and I was too stupid and selfish to appreciate it." I study her face, looking for signs of deception, but all I see is genuine remorse. "What happened to you, Mel? When did you become someone who could do those things?" She thinks about it for a long moment. "I think it started when I began believing I deserved more than what I had. More excitement, more money, more attention. I forgot that what I had was pretty good. I forgot that you were pretty good. And now? Now I'm broke, homeless, and alone. My best friend won't talk to me. My family is ashamed of me, and the man I thought I loved is in jail for fraud. I've lost everything that mattered, and I have no one to blame but myself." She stands up to leave, then pauses. "For what it's worth, I hope you find someone who appreciates you the way I should have." After she's gone, the bar slowly returns to normal. People go back to their conversations, their drinks, their lives. But I sit there for a while longer, thinking about everything that's happened. "You okay, boss?" Lonnie asks. "Yeah, kid, I'm okay. And for the first time in months, I really am." 3 months later, I'm working under the hood of a 1967 Mustang when I hear footsteps in the garage. I look up to see a woman I don't recognize, mid-30s, auburn hair, wearing jeans and a t-shirt that suggests she's not afraid of getting her hands dirty. "Are you Evan Harper?" she asks. "That's me. What can I do for you?" "My name's Sarah Collins. I just moved to town, and someone told me you're the best mechanic around. I've got a '72 Camaro that's been giving me trouble." I wipe my hands on a rag and walk over to where she's standing. "What kind of trouble?" "Engine keeps stalling out. I've taken it to 3 different shops, and nobody can figure out what's wrong with it." "Bring it by tomorrow morning. I'll take a look." She smiles, and I notice she has the kind of smile that reaches her eyes. "Thanks. I really appreciate it." After she leaves, Lonnie grins at me. "She seems nice, boss." "She's a customer, Lonnie. Nothing more." "If you say so." But the truth is, it's been a long time since I've been interested in anyone. The divorce, the betrayal, the whole mess with Melissa and Chaz, it all left me pretty cynical about relationships. Maybe it's time to start thinking about moving forward instead of just surviving. The next morning, Sarah shows up with the Camaro, and I can see why other mechanics couldn't figure out the problem. It's a classic case of multiple small issues that add up to one big headache. Dirty fuel injectors, worn spark plugs, a vacuum leak in the intake manifold. Each problem by itself wouldn't be enough to stall the engine, but together they're creating a perfect storm of mechanical failure. "How long will it take?" she asks. "Couple of days, maybe 3 if I have to order parts." "That's fine. I'm not in a hurry." She's different from Melissa in every way that matters. Where Melissa was high maintenance and demanding, Sarah is easygoing and patient. Where Melissa was obsessed with appearances, Sarah seems more interested in substance. And where Melissa saw my work as something beneath her, Sarah actually seems impressed by my knowledge of engines. "You really know your stuff," she says, watching me work. "Where did you learn all this?" "Started working on cars when I was 16. Been doing it ever since." It shows. The way you diagnosed the problem, it was like you were reading the car's mind. I find myself looking forward to her visits over the next few days. She stops by every afternoon to check on the progress, and we end up talking about everything from classic cars to favorite movies to the best places to eat in town. She's smart, funny, and refreshingly honest. Everything Melissa wasn't. On Friday, I finish the repairs and take the Camaro for a test drive. It runs like a dream, smooth and powerful, the way it was meant to. When I get back to the garage, Sarah is waiting with coffee and donuts from the bakery down the street. "Thought you might be hungry," she says. "Thanks, car's ready by the way, runs like new." She pays the bill without complaint, another difference from Melissa, who always argued about every charge. As she's getting ready to leave, she hesitates. "Evan, can I ask you something?" "Sure. Would you like to have dinner sometime? I mean, as a thank you for fixing my car?" I almost say no out of habit, but something stops me. Maybe it's the way she's looking at me, hopeful but not desperate. Maybe it's the fact that she's the first woman in years who's treated me like I'm worth her time. Or maybe it's just time to stop letting Melissa's betrayal define my future. "I'd like that," I say. Her smile could power the whole garage. "Great. How about Saturday, 7 o'clock? It's a date. After she leaves, I realize I'm smiling too. For the first time since the divorce, I'm actually looking forward to something that has nothing to do with revenge or justice or proving a point. I'm just looking forward to spending time with someone who seems to genuinely like me for who I am. That afternoon, Maggie calls with the latest gossip. "Heard you had a visitor today. Pretty redhead with a classic Camaro." Word travels fast. Faster when it involves the town's most eligible bachelor getting asked out on a date. "How did you know about the date?" Sarah stopped by the bar for lunch. Couldn't stop talking about this amazing mechanic who fixed her car and agreed to have dinner with her. I can't help but laugh. This town really is too small. Small enough that everyone's rooting for you, Evan. After what you went through with Melissa, you deserve some happiness. Saturday night, I pick Sarah up at her apartment, a small but tidy place above the bookstore on Main Street. She's wearing a simple blue dress that brings out her eyes, and she looks beautiful in a natural, unforced way that Melissa never managed, despite all her expensive clothes and makeup. Dinner is at a little Italian place on the outskirts of town, the kind of restaurant that doesn't look like much from the outside but serves incredible food. We talk for 3 hours, and I learn that Sarah is a freelance graphic designer who moved to Maine from Boston after her own divorce. She's looking for a quieter life, a place where she can start over without the baggage of her past. "What about you?" she asks over dessert. "Ever been married?" "Divorced last year. It wasn't pretty." "I'm sorry. Do you want to talk about it?" I think about it for a moment. With Melissa, I always felt like I had to be careful about what I said, like she was looking for reasons to criticize or judge me. But with Sarah, I feel like I can be honest. So I tell her the whole story. The affair, the lies, the plan to frame me, the way I fought back and ultimately won. I expect her to be shocked or horrified, but instead she just listens thoughtfully. "Sounds like you handled it exactly right," she says when I'm finished. "Really? Most people think I went too far. Most people have never been betrayed by someone they trusted completely. You didn't hurt anyone who didn't deserve it, and you didn't do anything illegal. You just refused to be a victim." It's exactly what I needed to hear. We start dating regularly after that. Sarah is everything Melissa wasn't. Supportive, honest, independent, genuinely interested in my life and work. She doesn't care that I'm a mechanic. If anything, she seems to find it attractive that I work with my hands and create something useful every day. 6 months later, she moves in with me. Not because she needs to, but because she wants to. Not because I'm supporting her, but because we're building something together. A year after that, I propose. Not with some elaborate scheme or public spectacle, but quietly, privately, in the garage where we first met. She says yes without hesitation. We get married the following spring in a small ceremony at the Rusty Anchor, surrounded by friends who actually care about us. Joe is my best man, Lonnie is the ring bearer, and Maggie officiates. Turns out she got ordained online just for the occasion. As we're dancing to our first song as husband and wife, Sarah looks up at me and smiles. No regrets? About what? About how everything worked out. About Melissa. About the divorce. About all the drama that led us to each other. I think about it for a moment. You know what? No regrets at all. If I hadn't gone through all that, I might never have learned to appreciate what I have now. And what's that? A woman who loves me for who I am, not what I can give her. A woman who's honest with me, even when it's difficult. A woman who sees my work as something to be proud of, not something to be embarrassed about. She reaches up and kisses me. Lucky me, I got a man who knows the difference between love and manipulation. A man who's strong enough to fight for himself, but gentle enough to forgive when it matters. Later that night, as we're cleaning up after the reception, Lonnie comes over with a newspaper. Boss, thought you might want to see this. It's a small item in the back pages, easy to miss if you're not looking for it. Chad Pennington, former owner of Pennington Luxury Cars, was sentenced today to 12 years in federal prison for fraud and tax evasion. Pennington, who was also ordered to pay $2.3 million in restitution, will be eligible for parole in 8 years. What about Melissa? Sarah asks. Haven't heard from her in over a year, I say. Last I knew, she was working at a call center in Phoenix and living with her sister. Tina moved to Florida and got a job selling insurance. As far as I know, they're both staying out of trouble. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd handled things differently? I consider the question seriously. Sometimes. But then I remember that they made their choices, and I made mine. They chose to lie, cheat, and try to destroy me. I chose to fight back and protect myself. In the end, everyone got exactly what they deserved. Including you? I look around the bar, at our friends celebrating our wedding, at my wife of 3 hours smiling at me like I'm the best thing that ever happened to her, at the life I've built from the ashes of my first marriage. Especially me. The next morning, we're having breakfast in our kitchen. The same kitchen where I confronted Melissa about her affair 2 years ago. But it feels completely different now. Instead of lies and betrayal, it's filled with honesty and love. Instead of walking on eggshells, I can be completely myself. Sarah is reading the newspaper while I make coffee, and she looks up with a thoughtful expression. You know what I realized last night? What's that? Your ex-wife thought she was trading up when she left you for that car dealer. She thought she was getting someone richer, more exciting, more sophisticated. And instead she ended up with a criminal who's spending the next 12 years in prison. Meanwhile, you ended up with me. She grins. I'd say you got the better deal. Much better. Think she ever realizes what she gave up? I pour 2 cups of coffee and sit down across from my wife. Honestly? I don't care. Melissa is part of my past and I'm done looking backward. I'm more interested in looking forward. Good answer. Sarah reaches across the table and takes my hand. So what does the future look like? Well, I'm thinking about expanding the garage. Maybe hiring another mechanic, taking on more restoration work. And there's that house for sale on Elm Street, the one with the big backyard and the white picket fence. Sounds perfect for raising a family. Is that something you'd be interested in? Raising a family, I mean? She squeezes my hand. With you? Absolutely. And just like that, I can see our whole future stretching out ahead of us. Kids learning to change oil in the garage, family barbecues in the backyard, growing old together surrounded by people who actually love us. It's everything I thought I had with Melissa, but real this time. My phone buzzes with a text message from an unknown number. For a split second, my heart races. Could it be Melissa, trying to contact me after all this time? But when I read it, I realize it's just a spam message about car insurance. Everything okay? Sarah asks, noticing my expression. Yeah, everything's perfect. And it is. For the first time in my adult life, everything is exactly as it should be. I have a wife who loves me, a business that's thriving, friends who respect me, and a future that's full of possibilities instead of problems. 3 years ago, I was married to a woman who saw me as a meal ticket and a safety net. Today, I'm married to a woman who sees me as a partner and an equal. 3 years ago, I was being lied to and cheated on by someone I trusted. Today, I'm building a life with someone who values honesty above everything else. The difference is like night and day. That afternoon, I'm working on a classic Mustang when I hear familiar footsteps. I look up to see Joe walking into the garage with a big grin on his face. "Heard congratulations are in order," he says. "Thanks, man. Couldn't have done it without you." "Done what? Gotten married or survived the divorce?" "Both." He laughs and looks around the garage. "You know, Evan, I've been thinking about everything that happened with Melissa and Chaz. The whole revenge thing." "What about it?" "I think you taught this town an important lesson. Which is that good guys don't always finish last. Sometimes, if they're smart enough and tough enough, they finish exactly where they belong." As the sun sets over our little Maine town, I lock up the garage and head home to my wife. Tomorrow, there will be more cars to fix, more problems to solve, more challenges to face. But tonight, I'm just going to enjoy being exactly where I belong. Melissa wanted a trip to paradise. She thought she could find it by lying, cheating, and betraying the people who cared about her. Instead, she found herself alone, broke, and living with the consequences of her choices. Me? I found my paradise right here, in the life I built from the wreckage of her lies. A life based on honesty, hard work, and genuine love. A life where I'm valued for who I am, not what I can provide. The trip she wanted was canceled. But the journey I ended up taking led me exactly where I needed to be. And that's the best revenge of all. The end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.